Look, what we told Democrat leadership when they went down this pathway of removing members from committee is basically saying you should not do that because if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
As soon as House Republicans finally performed the basic task of electing a speaker, they started enacting their revenge against House Democrats, and it was long planned. After the House removed extremist Republicans Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene from their committee assignments in 2021, Kevin McCarthy promised to get even. Now he tells Punchbowl News that, as Speaker, quote, he would block California Democrats Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from spots in the House Intelligence Committee and move to take Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar off the Foreign Affairs Committee. And just to be clear about what this is actually all about, McCarthy's already fundraising off his promise to, quote, fire the Democratic members from their committees, with one reporter posting this screenshot of not one, not two, but three fundraising emails sent out in less than an hour on this topic. Joining me now is one of those members Kevin McCarthy plans to fire, Congressman Eric Swalwell, who in the last Congress served on the Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Intelligence committees. Congressman, first, I guess, would you feel better or worse if he was raising a lot of money off of these solicitations?
Chris, the only person who supports this is my wife, who is like, great, you're going to be home to change more diapers. I love it. But the truth is, Chris, it's purely vengeance. And I just want to walk your viewers through this because this happened nearly 10 years ago. The FBI told me that someone who had been helping our campaign in a district with 35% Asian Americans may be working with the Chinese government. I did what I hope every one of my colleagues would do, which was to help the FBI get this person out of the country. Now, fast forward to Speaker Ryan learns about the FBI's investigation into this individual, keeps me on the Intel Committee. Donald Trump becomes president, and I become, one of the leaders of the impeachment. He has access to this and releases nothing about my cooperation. It's only now that a Trump Intel official had leaked my cooperation to suggest that there was some wrongdoing on my part that this is even an issue. And by the way, Chris, the FBI did something they'd never do. On multiple occasions, they put out a statement that I was nothing but helpful, cooperative, and never under the suspicion of wrongdoing. So it's purely only about vengeance. And in that fundraising email, he says, aren't you tired of Swalwell, Schiff, and Omar's antics? Let's fire them. And that's not good for the Congress. That's not good for the committee. And that's not good for a Republican who in 2 years, if you're in the minority, if you want to set this precedent, that's just not how this place should work.
Well, to your point here, right, so there was this espionage investigation you were notified of. The FBI says you were cooperative with it. This happened 10 years ago. This was, just to be clear, this is sort of the casus belli. The reason that you brought it up is that the peg that they're hanging this on is this story. But it seems clear that, even when you listen to them, when he says it's their antics, when Congressman Donald says what's good for the goose is good for the gander, is that what happened was Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar did things that were really outside the bounds and norms of the normal comedy of the House. Paul Gosar had a video in which, a version of him was murdering AOC. And there was, repercussions for that. And immediately they were looking for a kind of tit for tat scenario and came in looking for that. They don't seem to be hiding that really so much.
They're not. And it reminds me, Chris, of when, back in the Boehner era, when McCarthy was passed up, the first time, he said the quiet part out loud. He said, what have I done for the party? Well, we created this Benghazi committee, and now Hillary Clinton's poll numbers are tanking. That's exactly what he's doing here with the fundraising email, is he's admitting that this is only about vengeance and there's no substantive reason, to remove us. And by the way, as Adam Schiff, myself, and Ms. Omar lose our committee assignments, who will receive committee assignments? Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, and George Santos, if that's even his name.
Here's the thing about this. I think that this is entirely a sort of tit for tat bad faith undertaking. But to put the question back on you that you said, right? I guess the question is there a precedent that was set with Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene that was a bad precedent? Or is there a way of policing this? Or does this become sheer will to power, that this now becomes a cycle of each new majority?
Yeah, Chris, if there is a colleague on the Democratic side who advocates for violence, for physical violence to enact your political will, I will be the first person to introduce a resolution to remove them from their committee. That's not what has happened here.
Yeah,
That is
that's a
why
good principle.
Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think advocating for violence and, advocating for violence instead of voting for political will is a pretty good standard. And no one on our side meets that standard.
You served on the Intelligence Committee. I don't know what will be happening in this Congress. So I want to ask you about the news today about the Biden administration that aides found a second batch of classified documents at a new location. We don't know where that location is. Of course, the previous day, there were a number of documents that had been found in the Penn Biden Center in Washington, D.C., apparently immediately reported to the National Archives and turned over. The case referred to a U.S. attorney in Illinois by Merrick Garland. Today, new documents. You concerned about this?
Well, Chris, we have the benefit of the Trump case that there were court filings, and so we know exactly what the documents were, at least not the details, but we know the classifications. We know that Donald Trump was asked over and over and refused to cooperate, and even still today may be refusing to cooperate. Here we're relying on media reports, and I'll take them at their word, but I would like to learn a little bit more. I will say these seem like apples and oranges, but I would also like maybe in the future for Republicans and Democrats to agree that maybe we should find, a better way to inventory, classified documents so that, something like this never happens again. But if the Biden team is cooperating, that is in stark contrast to Donald Trump, who is litigating his way and believes that he has the right to possess, these classified documents.
Yeah, in fact, I believe he's called them my documents. Final question for you. As a member of the California delegation, there is a lot of news about the Senate seat, the seat held by Dianne Feinstein. I think it's broadly anticipated at the age of 91 she won't run for re-election. Representative Katie Porter has announced a bid for that seat. Your colleague Adam Schiff widely expected to throw his hat in the ring, possibly Barbara Lee. Do you have a horse you're backing in this race?
Well, first I'll just say I think the focus of the delegation right now is on the storms at home. And I, like Adam Schiff noted yesterday, have been on the phone, all week with folks affected by that. So maybe when we come out of these storms, I'll consider that. I'll just say I like all my colleagues. Adam Schiff has been our chairman. And I think, we saw up close and personal, the strength, the fearlessness, and the ability to defend the Constitution when it was on the line in the first impeachment. But yeah, I'm going to let these storms settle and then come back to you.
I think I have good odds now after that answer on where you'll end up. Congressman Eric Swalwell, thank you very much. I appreciate it.